Well, hello everybody. Jumping right in here. We started talking a little bit pre-recording, but wanted to welcome Nick Boskovich back to the show. Nick, welcome to Simply Finance with Shane White, my friend.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here, sir.
Yeah, if you remember the first time we did this, you did it from your sauna, which that was a first for the podcast. That was
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah. Now I'm
Um,
doing it from my mom's dining room. That might be a first
that
too.
might be a first too. I don't know. I love it. And so I wanted to get you back on. Nick is a business owner here in Chicago, so lots to talk about there, and with the pandemic and everything. Nick is he's definitely someone who I wanted to get back on and just get his opinion. He's got his own perspective on everything that's going on, so I thought it'd be a great second episode together. So first of all, I guess, Nick, would you mind just giving everyone who's listening, who maybe didn't hear the first episode, just a little background into your business here in Chicago, one of a few, but of Hi-Vibe?
Yeah. So HiVibe, we're 100% organic superfood juicery. We specialize in a very progressive tonic menu that would consist of organic, mold, toxin-free coffee, matcha and pu'er teas, shaga tea, that are all very intentionally laced with superfoods and adaptogens to help achieve different goals. Um, we also make produce our own bone broth,
Oh,
our
I know.
cleanse, and these things all feed into our cleanse programming, which is really like the centerpiece of it all right now. Um, we really have like revolutionized the cleanse game. It's extremely successful part of our business, very unique experience. It's concierge from start to finish. You get, our cleanse clients get, there's 3 different protocols that they get to choose from: keto, which is low sugar; AIP, which is an autoimmune protocol; and the new one is our alkaline phyto protocol, which is it's focused on plant-based ingredients, very alkalizing, and provides like more of a deep digestive or colon cleanse.
Okay. Yeah.
Yep.
Love it.
Yeah, and it's like I said, it's a concierge process from start to finish. We offer complimentary consults every day of your cleanse. Each morning, you'll receive a text or you'll receive a video from yours truly, um,
Nice.
kind of like kind of like a pep talk, and also informational for like what your body's going through, why, the kind of like providing a little why to your process for that day. I guess also refresh your memory, remind you of the reasons why you started to cleanse. You get one of those each morning via text message. We deliver now to a roughly 60-mile radius of the city of Chicago. So we do that twice a week. We might start doing it 3 times a week, but right now that wouldn't make sense, but hopefully it will in the near future. We've got 2 shops downtown. Our flagship is on Kinsey and River North, Kinsey between LaSalle and Wells. And then the new one that we opened up last May is on North Ashland Avenue in Lakeview. So it's just north of Diversey on Ashland and Lakeview.
Awesome. Yeah.
So
Super cool.
yeah, so it's been a journey. We've done a lot of pivoting and a lot of adapting over the past year and a half, and I couldn't be more proud and grateful for the team, the individuals that make up our team. So yeah, man, it's
No,
good.
love it. Love it. I mean, it's funny. Last time we talked, I know you and I had, when we talked, and I was trying to look before, I know it was like right when I feel like the pandemic was just in this really weird spot. Like it had gone through the first wave, but we weren't quite to like the craziness of summer yet. So I guess for everyone listening, yeah, you own, like you said, you deliver. So like people who want to try it, who live somewhat close to the city of Chicago can try it. You also obviously have the 2 shops. So you're one of the few people I've had on here that owns like physical retail shops. What is that
Mhm.
just at a very macro level been like through COVID? Because I can only imagine it's been tough, but then we kind of came out of it and it seems like things were getting better. And then for people not that don't know, Chicago's back to masks again, and just curious how all of the evolution of all of this has gone for you guys.
Well, it's been a it's been it's been a journey. It's
Yeah.
everything's a journey, right? But this is the physical shops. It's been really difficult, and I feel like um, we've accepted kind of like a responsibility or a duty for our team to remain positive and uplifting. Like one of our core values is vibes on high. And what
Love
that's
that.
referring is to like energy, attitude. We want everybody that steps in our space to feel better when they, while they're there, but also when they leave, and for us to provide that ripple effect for our community. So masks make that extremely difficult to achieve. The human connection is greatly affected by the presence of a mask on one or both individuals. So navigating that, kind of like finding our sweet spot and how we manage that. There's nothing that's been more painful for me as a business owner and a leader of this organization over the past year and a half. Nothing's been more painful than the mask. Like the fact that like my team was forced to wear a mask and inhibit their breathing for 8-10 hours a day, 6-8-10 hours a day. So we've like kind of found our I guess our operating procedure when it comes to that, and it's unique. It's more lax than most places, I would say, or every place probably. And that's it. Like you can't please everyone ever.
Sure.
Like you can never please everyone, and that's more true now than ever. And right now, you've got to make a decision on like who do you want to serve, who are your people, and lean into that and lean in hard. So that's what we've done. Like it's easy for everything to turn into a political argument. And I am very apolitical, anti-political.
I'm with
I
you.
don't, yeah, I don't, I mean, I view it all as a puppet show and a distraction from the real problems, the real issues. I feel like it taps into this, I guess like what the politics and these mandates and you've got these different agencies, whether it's the CDC or the NIH, or they're all private corporations. Sorry, my phone's across the room.
Oh,
It's
you're all
ringing.
good. All good.
But they don't have authority over us. Like there's human rights, and these are rights that we're born with, and they're not granted by any governing authority. There's no man that I granted authority over me or my body or my decisions. So I think that's important, and I wish that people would recognize that and accept responsibility for their own lives, because what the political theater provides is an excuse to blame others and to defer responsibility, and an excuse, I guess, to not provide yourself an alternative, like provide solutions. It's just like this whiny bitch fest, both sides of every topic. And it's quite clear to me that it's divide every which way you can. White, black, rich, poor, anti-mask, pro-mask, anti-vax, pro-vax. It's, I mean, religions, it's never ending, and it's just divide. So it's been very eye-opening and interesting to be a part of and observe.
Yeah. Well, it's been interesting. It's fun. It's funny to hear that perspective. I totally agree for all of that, actually. First of all, but second of all, my world flipped when COVID hit, because I went from being, having to go to the train station, being with all these people, being in an office in downtown Chicago, and then commuting home, to then overnight, everything's in my house. So I'm at home. I work from home. My gym is in my garage, so I work out there. Like, I technically don't have to leave unless I need groceries. You know what I mean? And that was such a change of everything. But for someone like you who owns a physical location, like, it put such a damper in just like your day to day, I'm sure, and like your team running the business.
Hmm.
It also seems strange. I mean, this is what I get frustrated with for hearing people like you who like have to have the actual. I feel like you guys get way more of the impact than I do. For example, right? Like,
Hmm.
if I have to go to a store and wear a mask, like, yeah, I don't agree with it, but like that's like the end of my interaction with it when I go home. For you
Right.
guys who like live in it and it's like part of your everyday, like I feel like I would probably be a lot louder about it. It's just frustrating. There's been no like commonality, like whether it's just the US, whether it's state by state. Like, I think the frustrating thing for me all along is now we've been in this for a year and a year and a half, and there's no commonality. Like, even from a scientific lens, how is there no just like this is what is best and this is what isn't? That number one frustrates me. But number two, and this is one of the reasons I want to talk to you, I think what's mind blowing to me, whether you're vax, anti-vax, whatever, all the different things you just mentioned, there's never any conversation around just being healthier. Like, this is such
Zero.
an opportunity to teach people to like eat better, to
Zero.
like
I mean, you think about it.
exercise.
If you think
Crazy.
about it, if you want to break down the guidelines coming from these health organizations, there's not a single peep that is actually good for your health.
No.
They're actually the opposite.
Yeah.
Suffocate yourself, inject some experimental poisons, and hide from the sun, isolate yourself, don't have any interaction with others. It's insane.
Yeah. And
It's
that's just on
insane.
the physical side. And that's nothing, doesn't touch the mental side of just like we've all been, in our homes for how
Right.
long. It's wild. It's funny, even you saying that. Me and my wife went to a concert at like Tinley Park last weekend. And it was the first time I've been to an event that big since all this started. And I'll be honest, like me and my wife were talking about it when we left, and we were like, it felt we shouldn't feel this odd to be around people again, but there's like this inherent mental feeling of like there are so many people and
Yeah.
we're so, you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
it's crazy, like what the long, like I always wonder, like for kids that are going through this, I think that's probably have a bigger impact. If I spent a year and a half or 2 years like not hanging around as many kids and wearing masks, what that turns into. And it's kind of, I
Yeah.
think that's like a crazy part. That's, I don't know.
Yeah, and
I
I
don't know
mean,
a ton about.
if you really like, there's a lot to unpack there too. With like mental and emotional trauma. Like they're being taught to be afraid of each other, that they could be a danger to others, that they're not able to read mannerisms and express and expression physical expressions of people.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, man. I don't know.
And it's weird too. I mean,
Not
I
with
know
it.
you have a strong opinion on the masks. What
Hmm.
do you think? Like, I guess the longer I've learned about it, and obviously being a part of this, it almost seems like, and I just love to hear your opinion on this. And I was telling my wife this morning. I said it blows my mind that we want, like, first of all, even from like the government's perspective, if you want more people to get this vaccine, if that was your goal, North Star, we want everyone in the US to get it. Doesn't going back to masks just totally disincentivize those who've been holding off anyway? Like, it's just like all of their decisions, like they seem to always back, like they're crisscrossing back on what they said previously. It just,
Yeah, I
and then I think that just like totally devalues what the vaccine was supposed to accomplish, especially
mhm.
now that like there's all these new variants that it doesn't even matter against. I don't know. It's so funny to step back and like watch these people do this to me.
Yeah. I mean, I think that the double speak, which is what you're saying, like that all these contradictory like statements or orders or mandates or opinions coming a lot of times like from the same person
Yeah.
is, I believe, by design. It's meant to keep everyone confused, angry, um, and divisive again, because no matter where you are, like there, you have an enemy in this argument, on these
Sure. Yeah.
topics, um, and with the reintroduction of the mask, I think that there's, I think that, it's going to be, um, a very painful cold and flu season this winter. You know, there's going to be a lot of people with compromised immune systems, and that's always the time when people do get sick, do
Yeah.
get cold. So I think like what that's going to actually look like, that might actually be something that is more real than anything we've seen yet. Um, yeah, I don't know. Did I answer your question?
Yeah, no, you did.
Yeah.
You did. Yeah. No, I'm with you 100%. I don't know. It's crazy from like a business perspective. I mean, does this, like, with masks coming back on, does it change the amount of people that come into HiVibe? Does it have
Yes.
any other? Yeah, it does. I was gonna say, because
Yeah.
I think inherently, like, it makes me not want to go places knowing I have to wear a mask
Yeah.
now.
We're down about 20% last week. And that was when that's a direct result. It makes it, It, uh, and it's like, and I'm like, this is on us to just like figure it out. We've got to solve this is the problem now to solve. Like, how do we get more people in here? Um, I think that the mask has like an effect in a lot of different ways. You've got a certain percentage of the people that are sincerely frightened, um, and then you've got probably a larger percentage of people that are depressed
Yeah.
depressed that what we've just you know that we're back to this misery, so um and then there's a small percentage of people that are just that are angry and refusing to comply.
Yeah.
So
Right.
either way, it doesn't matter what party you're in there, whether you're depressed or you're scared or you're angry, it's not good for the juice business,
No. Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
and
and
it's probably not for anything. Although the depressed, I think they would tend to I think they tend to reach for comforting, non-healthy foods. So
which
I
then
guess
circles right back to what we just said about, they're not talking at all about diet, exercise, putting good things in your body. It's crazy.
right,
That's crazy.
right,
And I just looked back. So we had our first episode the beginning of December of 2020. So,
okay,
what, 9 months ago?
yeah,
From then, I remember one of the things you also were working on was more of a like e-com, and you mentioned delivery, which I'm assuming is
hmm
through that. When this happens again, I mean, is your assumption that like maybe that's an avenue that's going to have to be pumped harder if people are, less willing to leave again because of masks?
yeah. I mean, we actually like it's like we're always like in the middle of like some sort of like new initiative or new project or new strategy. Um, and we invested a lot into ads.
Okay.
This it would have been, I guess, in the spring of this year, and man, it is not. Fuck, it was like a miserable initiative for me,
Was it?
because yeah, it was like, I mean, I had a team, and we had like really skilled individuals, which created you know it because we had like a art director, we had an ads director, um you've got like social media manager, we've got my all purposes of business manager, and Eric, um Presley, who's like our tech guy, like my wife, myself. There was a lot of us involved in this. We
Yeah.
also had um another girl that was more like video focused. I can't think of titles for all these people because
Sure. No, I get it.
we don't
Yeah. A
really
lot of
give them.
people don't.
But I'm just trying to think, like, yeah, so it turned into like, I guess, like a bloated department, and marketing and branding and the creative side of things. Like, that's what I love, So, and we were having these weekly meetings, and they were just, I would just look at my wife and be like, dude, I hate our marketing meetings. Like, they are so low vibe. Like, it's like I'm frustrated, angry, depressed, like after
Oh,
them. And
no.
like, I should be
Yeah.
excited,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And it was just like, and it was because we were trying, okay, if we've got an ads manager, then that means we need to put to justify this guy's existence. And once you do that, then it's like, if it's not performing, it creates this like pressure cooker. So
Yeah.
and I
Right.
think that's what happened was like, we all, instead of like having fun, like we are currently doing with our marketing
Yeah.
efforts, um, it was much more like a job and work, and and there was like some finger pointing going on, and it was like, dude, we just have to like clip this whole thing, and like, so that's what we did. And I was like, I'm like, listen, and like my team, my leadership team was like a little bit, I think they were a little bit nervous or wary by that decision that like, listen, we're just going to like cut this department and get back to like the roots and just have fun. We're going to keep it really focused and really, you know, look for like maximum exposure or maximum return on everything that we do. So like, we're going to do a social media post, we're going to boost it or turn it into an ad if it's appropriate, you know, modest ad spend. You were going to share. I did all these. I did a video for all of every product that we have, including like cleanses and some of our different like variety boxes and
Oh,
programming
cool.
that's available
Yeah.
on our site. So we post one of those every week. We put a boost behind that. Just like really focus, like simplifying it down, simplifinancing it down to
Love
like
it.
the
Yeah.
down, like as much as we possibly could. And I'm like, just listen, guys. Like, I think that like we're going to be pleasantly surprised that like that all we need to just cut the noise, trim the fat.
Well, it sounds
And
like you're trying to get that back to like, more of like a scrappy roots, like high ROI everything, which makes sense.
yeah, that just wasn't, yeah, that approach just wasn't for us. And now, we did that and we've had several recent sales highs, like weekly and monthly. So
Wow.
so it's worked, and it's like,
With less.
I could use a little help. It's a little bit too much on me, I think, but with all the other things I have going on, but it feels good, and kind of like get back to the roots. And like,
Sure.
that's I've, throughout this 7 years now of since we founded the business, that it's, that happens like cyclically, like where we're like, oh, we got to get back to our roots on this, got to get back to the roots. And like, whenever we do, it works and it's good and it feels great,
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
No, that's
so
awesome.
it was like, we needed to try that because I was on this mission, like this mindset where like our delivery needs to equal what we're selling in the shops, like,
Okay.
cause we've got this sky high ceiling for this 60-mile radius of Chicagoland,
Sure. Yeah.
like there's
It's a
no
lot of
reason
people.
that those numbers shouldn't be, it should beat the store numbers. And so I was like, I thought we could do it through ads and like, and, in all fairness, I think that a big part of that was this, and I don't get too much, I don't know a whole lot about this, but there was like a change of like the Apple, like iOS
Yeah.
something.
It
So it
just,
became harder to track, harder to target,
at a
harder
high
to,
level, I was gonna say, what I've seen is just you can choose whether or not you're tracked. So now it's like
Mhm.
the data is not necessarily clean. It's like
Yeah.
your sample size. Oh, maybe if 5 people out of 100 said yes, then it looks like you're not. It's just weird.
Yeah. Yeah. And like, and you've got this team that we were putting all this energy and all this resources into this ad endeavor. And,
Sure.
and then we'd go through our weekly report. It was like, what was our return on ad spend? And I'd be like, oh my God, like you can only, what I mean? It was like, I felt like for 2 months, I was like, well, we can't do this for much longer. We can't do this for much
Yeah.
longer,
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but, and like that part of that might've been, the data wasn't there to, it wasn't as available,
Yeah.
but like I said, getting back to the roots, like we are a small business, we are hyper local. That's like, that'll never change because of because of what our product is, being raw, organic, highly perishable, really short shelf life. This is
Yeah.
it. And this is, and like, it's nothing to feel sorry about or feel sorry for ourselves for, because that's also what keeps the big boys out, So,
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
um,
Well, that's what I was gonna ask. I assumed it was highly perishable.
mhm.
So that answers my question because I was curious, like even out by me in Elmhurst. I mean, there's probably not an opportunity to like be on a shelf even, right? Because it wouldn't last long enough.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's got to be a refrigerated shelf.
Yeah,
You've got,
sure.
on a refrigerated shelf, you've got 4 to 5 days, depending on the product.
So at that point, you'd have to have quick turns, and you couldn't like
Yeah.
ever ship product to like Whole Foods even out here, right? Yeah.
No, I mean,
Never worked.
actually, you can't, even if you wanted to, you technically can't, because the way the FDA regulates unpassed juice is that it needs to be sold direct to consumer. So there is no wholesaling for resale.
Oh, really?
So,
Oh, okay.
Again,
Well, there you go.
that keeps the big boys out too, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
So from that standpoint, then, I mean, does it seem like, where you're at and where the business is, that like trying to get more in delivery or opening up more locations makes, or is it both? Like for you and we're being the boss, where does your head go as
Yeah,
far as
well,
like
I mean,
that?
this is actually good timing for this conversation, because this is something that I've been I've had the help of a very high level operations professional,
Nice.
hospitality operations professional that's been working with me for the last couple of years. And our plan or ideas, I guess, I shouldn't say plan, like more of like our ideas over the last couple of years has really changed in like what we thought the way to grow is. Because, you know, not to toot my own horn, because I'm obviously biased, but we are far too good at what we do to just be a local company. You know, like we've got,
Sure.
there's, I'm obsessive about everything. So, you know, everything's always like better, better. How do we streamline? How do we make this simpler? How do we make that a better experience? Um, and I've got like this great leadership team under me and, or around me, I should say, not under me, around me. And you know, there was a time where I thought I had no interest in franchising. I thought this business is way too complex. It's way too hard. There's way too many corners that you could cut and just fuck up the whole thing.
Okay.
And,
Yeah.
you know, and this isn't like, you know, some guy that owns a bunch of 7-Elevens is going to like plug
It's
and play a high
right.
vibe. It's not
Right.
going to work like that. Um, but I have since really changed my stance on that. And there's always been a lot of interest in franchising high vibes. You know, eh, for, I guess, since probably a year in, we've received, you know, there were times where I'd receive like several inquiries a week for people wanting to franchise and bring high vibe to Colorado, Nashville, Dallas, Tampa, Phoenix, all over the country.
Sure. I
And
bet.
these are places that I would be excited to expand into. These are like great, a lot of them great markets. And um, and that's actually like where we've kind of come to realize that, you know, I'm really good at a lot of things, but there's, you know, we as a team are really good at a lot of things. And, but if we're being realistic, like we don't really want to take on private equity. And, and I don't want to continue to bear the burden of risking it all with every location that we open.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so, you know, and knowing that like a lot of these, you know, potential franchisees or like franchisee like applicants, I guess you could say, or whatever. Um, Knowing a lot of them, like I know they were regulars of ours that maybe moved or they visited us when they were, you know, visiting Chicago. Um, Knowing that a lot of them are, I guess, the right kind of people, the kind of people I want to work with. I highly value more than ever, like the people that I work with, you know,
Okay.
and the
Yeah.
people that I
Yeah.
serve, right, that we serve. And kind of realizing that, like, because you know, I've had calls with franchise. I've got family friends that started the Spanga franchise,
Oh,
which
yeah.
is out
Yeah.
in the
Yeah.
burbs, and they sold like, I forget the number. They sold like hundreds of units of that, and they only built one prototype in
Wow.
I forget if it was like Moline or so, I don't know, somewhere in the
There's one
West
down the
Burbs.
street from me. Yeah.
Yeah. And they might have taken over the Elmhurst one or something. I don't know. But anyway, like these guys know what they're doing. They were founders of a large gym franchise. And I had a call with them to kind of explore like, you know, what does franchising look like? Could that work for us? And talking to them, like it was a lot about, there's a big focus, like a big aspect of the endeavor is the sales. And you know, and they you know, finding the right broker. They're these like franchise networking groups.
Oh,
um
interesting.
and and like there's like heavy focus on that. And like we got off that call and I like marinated with, you know, I sat on that and like processed that for a few weeks. And
Oh,
for us, you know, I've got a list of several dozen potential franchisees or people that were at least interested. Like I don't really like want to have hundreds of franchises, you know,
yeah.
to me that's like that's
Well,
not how I would want to start. I don't have that infrastructure in place, like as far as like our leadership and our capability. So
sure.
and um and
Well,
also like
even at
it's
like a high level though, like could you explain to everyone like how does it work? So when you're like thinking about it, like is it someone like pays you a sum to like get the high vibe name, but then there's like a way of working and a way of like coming to the consumer that's like copy and pasted from your current locations that they would adopt?
yeah,
How
I
does that
mean,
all
it's
work?
so a franchise essentially is like they would own their business. So, say it's Nashville. There'd be maybe the company's named HiVibe Nashville, and
Okay.
they would be owners of that unit. We would provide them. It's essentially like licensing our branding,
Yeah.
our all of our trademarks, our menus, our processes, um, and then providing them with support along the way, and marketing support, problem solving,
Sure. You're like partners in
everything,
a way. Yeah.
everything, and that was part. Well, I guess that was part of it. Was that like why I didn't think like staying this like corporate growth made sense, like because yeah we could tackle like one market, but then like that would take several years,
Sure.
and then I
What
was
if
thinking like if we wanted to do this national rollout, the 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 team that we would need to have in place
yeah.
to achieve something like that would, for one, be very expensive, and two, because it would be so expensive, like how many units would we need to even reach like break even,
Sure. Oh,
and
okay. Yeah.
then where I'm thinking like, okay, but we do know how to do what we do really well. So like we could just be like those, like shepherd these franchisees along the way and answer their questions and be there to support them and be there for their openings and help them like build that community. And then you've got their local founder or their local owner operator that is that is like that local face and that glue for the community. And really like one of the things I love the most about this business is that I'm sure there's going to be plenty of franchises that that one could invest in that would be maybe like more financially attractive, but where I don't think anybody could beat us is on kind of like those X factor variables. Like this business, if you bring a high vibe to your community, the people that you are going to attract, both as your customers and as your employees, are the cream of the crop. They are the people that you want to surround yourself with.
Got it.
And
Yeah.
that can't be, and that to me, like that's the best. That's like the icing on the cake of it all.
Sure. Oh, that makes sense. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And then so like yeah, so then if you did decide to go down that route, does someone pay you like is it like someone would have to pay you a one-time fee to get started and then you get
Yeah.
like a percent each month of revenue? Is that kind of how it works?
So so typically it's there's a franchise fee.
Okay.
So like the upfront fee. Um and those vary. I think like kind of like a roundabout numbers like 50 grand.
Okay.
Something like that. And that's basically to cover like the expenses of our training them
Yeah.
on
Yeah.
everything. Um and there's also fees that have to be, for each state is different. So there's a
Okay.
lot of red tape around it. So like
Sure, I'm
I did
sure.
explore like if there was ways to kind of some loopholes to kind of like not technically be a franchise, but still, pursue this path.
Yeah.
And it's not really, but yeah, so there would be a franchise fee up front. And typically if you've got these agencies, like they would be getting, 50% of that fee, I think would
Oh,
be like
wow.
maybe like a typical, like the franchisor, they're not making money until the business is open and making sales. Like
Sure.
that's when like money starts coming. So, so you've got the upfront franchise fee, and then you've got there'd be royalties associated. So I think like typically royalties range from like anywhere from like 5 to 10%, depending on
Okay.
like the
Nice.
concept.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's like, and that's it's paid forever. Like that's like a monthly check that they would cut.
Yeah. So
A
interesting.
lot of, a
Yeah, it
lot of
seems
times
like
like and a lot of times like it sounds like a lot of like the more successful, maybe like progressive models, they include like 1% that's going to be spent on marketing for them. Because that's the thing, like I see now, we have a SMS
yeah.
marketing program. we've got, we've got ads and targeting and like, I don't know, we've kind of like dabbled in all of this. And I see that like there's, there would be no reason for a franchisee to need to like to put that on them, to have to like learn all of that, like it took us a long time to learn all of that. So like we could take that on and do it for each region or each each like nucleus of locations. So we're still working through the details. I haven't cut the fat check to the attorneys yet to
Sure.
actually put
Yeah.
it all into motion. But
I
there's
mean,
been a lot of
yeah. No,
exploratory
it sounds
conversations.
exciting. It sounds like a very big, it sounds like an inflection point of like, you know, staying a smaller business. And like, to your point, like that sounds like you'd need like a massive team of people around you to execute.
Mhm.
Totally different trajectories, I'm sure, as far as just like what a corporate team looks like and everything. Would you ever consider almost like something in between where it's like, you start hitting some like really popular pockets in the suburbs just because like,
Yeah, I
I
mean,
mean, I'll be honest with you. The one thing that's funny, and I thought about it before we came on, my wife, I don't know where she got into it. We have a Whole Foods down the street, and she went over one day and she just wanted a green drink. She just like wanted one, and they made her this green drink. It was really good, strong, had some like cayenne and some stuff in it.
mhm.
And then I thought of you, and I'm like, oh man, like there's a lot of people in the burbs, and this, but they would love to go and like go to a HiVibe if it was close by and buy all that stuff. So
Yeah.
I don't know. Just it's interesting to think. I'm sure you would have a ton of demand out here, and you probably see that in some of your shipping.
Yeah, I do. I think the suburbs would be great. It's just like it's kind of and honestly, like it's something that I struggle with because I'm certainly more driven to like create, build, like that's what I want to do. I don't want to
Yeah,
manage,
yeah,
like
sure,
that's
sure.
not me. So this process of franchising, I think for like the last 6 months or so, like we've kind of like landed on that like, yeah, that is what makes sense. That is what we should be pursuing. But then it was like I learned what's got to be done. It's like, well, I got to pay lawyers to make these financial disclosure documents, and then I got to have a operations guy make this big operations, very detailed, thorough operations manual for everything. It's like all these things that like I don't do.
Yeah,
So it was just kind of like all I'm doing is like writing checks for these things, and it's like it's not exciting. That's not exciting. It
sure,
the
sure.
end, the end, having these new locations, new franchisees, rep like bringing this brand to all these different communities, like that's exciting. So I have to like remind myself of that. But like, yeah, it's true. Like we're building in northern Michigan. Like I keep thinking like, oh man, Traverse City would make a lot of sense. It's like a sweet, like little like affluent resort town,
Yeah, oh, yeah,
and then like I'm staying in Northwest Indiana right now. Um, part-time with like my mom and stepfather. And this is where I grew up. And there's like nothing out here. And I'm like, there's been such an influx from the Illinois, Chicago suburbs to
yeah.
here that it's like now, and like I deliver to this area now. So I see now that like this, Northwest Indiana could definitely support a HiVibe. And we've got a lot of support from Elmhurst, Hinsdale, like those surrounding, like around Hinsdale, like
Sure.
Clarendon
Oak
Hills,
Brook.
all
Oh,
those.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
we've got I mean, there's an argument for every area of the suburbs.
I mean, I keep seeing.
And
I don't know if you've been out recently. Like Oak Brook, like the big mall. They got. Oh, now I'm blanking. They got 2 or 3 of the like better for you like food restaurants. They've like
Mhm.
kicked things out that are kind of
Yeah,
honestly shitty food. They've got like True Food Kitchen,
yeah,
Sweet Green, I think, just came in. So I was thinking about you the other day. I was like, oh
yeah.
yeah, like a HiVibe would just totally make sense right here in the center.
Yeah. I mean, I agree. So like that's what I'm saying. It's like it's a challenge for
Yeah,
me to like
yeah,
because I mean I start looking at real estate listings and then it's like, oh shit, next thing we know, I'm like going and looking at places. We get tons, there's great opportunities right now to be had, like
yeah,
we get
yeah,
emails weekly. Actually, I was just looking at I just got an email from uh some guys on Randolph in the West
yeah.
Loop. So like
I'm
there's a
sure. Yeah,
ton of
yeah,
opportunity
yeah.
and and I just like but we've got to pick our path here, because there's
Right.
only so much capital to
Yeah. Right. Well, I mean, what's interesting,
bank.
yeah. Yeah, for sure. No, it's what and kind of where the reason I was leading into that is it's been interesting being on the like the working side of this pandemic in Chicago, for example, and thinking, and I think we mentioned this last time, but like, I used to hop on the train. There was a coffee shop in the train station in Elmhurst. I got a coffee there almost every morning. went downtown, and there was a place pretty close by. Well, you guys are obviously close by too, and there's multiple places where like it wouldn't be uncommon to pop into more than one of those a day. And then you
Mhm.
realize when you're not doing the commuting anymore, like I just don't know. I'd be so curious the foot traffic. So I was curious if like some of those like heart in the heart of downtown where a lot of the business people were, since a lot of them
Mhm.
aren't going to back to the office now for who knows how long. Um, if some of those people would start to do things out in more of the residential, like even like Lincoln Parks and some of those spots where there's tons of people,
Yeah.
they're just maybe not commuting downtown anymore.
Yeah, I
It's
mean
interesting.
that's our Ashland location. We love that location. The build out was beautiful. The location is central to so many neighborhoods on the
Is
north
that
side
is that
there.
the one you posted on Instagram the other day? It's got
Yeah.
like it's more of like a storefront, like an
Yep.
actual like store on a corner. Yeah, that looks sweet.
Yep. It's right on. It's on Ashland, just north of Diversity. There's a gigantic parking lot. Like the center that we're a part of shares a parking lot with a Jewel. So it's like this
Oh
gigantic, unlimited
wow.
parking, free parking.
Yeah.
Um, but it's been tricky to build that steady foot traffic at that location. And same with Kinsey. The number of transactions that we aim for daily now is it's been very much adjusted over the last year and a half from what it was before. Because what I've found really interesting about River North is when the shutdowns and restrictions began last year, obviously the foot traffic was hammered, right?
Yeah.
It virtually like went away. But that neighborhood is such a great mix of like affluent young professionals that live there and work there.
Yeah.
So, we lost all the business traffic because there's no offices anymore. And but enough people like live down there, right? And it's close
Right.
to
Yeah.
it's close to like a lot of entertainment kind of districts. Um, but since, it seemed like the offices were back open this summer. Now I don't know how true that is. You probably know better than me, but the hustle and bustle never came back. Like
Oh, okay.
we used to be open at 6:30 in the morning, and that traffic from 7:30 to 9 was insane.
Oh, I
Like
bet.
we would,
Yeah.
yeah, it was like all hands on deck to like manage that. Um, and like I said, it made sense that went away. But this summer, when everything was like back open, um, it never came back. And that's been like perplexing to me because, you hear people like going to work. Well, it's like, but where'd that go? Because, I mean, you'd see it on the streets in River North, like
Yeah.
people were hustling and bustling all over on their way to work, commuting to
Yeah.
work in the morning. And that's no longer. So I don't know.
No, it's interesting. Yeah. I mean, I went downtown for the first time 2 weeks ago. It was the first time I've been downtown in the morning in a year and a half. And it
Holy
was
cow.
weird. It was so weird, like how little, like when I used to walk to the RX office, I mean, it was wall to wall people, five wide in both directions on Whacker, for example. Like, I mean, it was just constant people for as far
Yeah.
as the eye could see. And now you go down there and there's just a few people sprinkled in. I mean, it's just like it's crazy just the foot traffic alone.
Yeah.
How few people are down there. Yeah.
Right. But then like, I remember my dad's told me several times that he's like went down into the loop for whatever a point, I don't know, to go to the bank or whatever his errands were. And that he would go into like parking structures and he'd have to go all the way to the roof to park
Which
because it was
that
packed. I'm like, well, where the hell are they
yeah.
at? I don't
Yeah.
know.
That's the weird thing too. Like I was gonna say, like, but driving downtown, the traffic is just as bad as it's ever been. So it's like,
Yep.
where are these people all going?
Yeah. Yeah. You're
It's so
right.
strange.
Yeah. When we started the delivery endeavor last spring, people would always ask me like, well, what are you going to do when traffic comes back? I'm like, I don't know. I'm not worried about that now. Well, look, it sure came back this
Yeah.
year.
Yeah.
It was like, oh my God. We're like thinking like, do we need to change what time we're doing this? And like,
It's
because
crazy.
traffic is worse than
Yeah.
ever.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. It's nuts. Well, that's wild, man. I mean, there's lots of stuff changing. The one thing I will give you credit on, it seems like you guys are always thinking about just like how to tweak, how to win. It's never like, oh, poor me. It's like, how do we, pivot and execute, which
Yeah.
obviously that's why you're a good businessman and continue to pivot and make things work.
Yeah. And I mean, I think like, and I probably said this before, like this business, I think that's why, whenever I've met with people in the past that like whether they wanted to invest um, or partner or like, any sort of like business endeavors, joint venture type situations, like that was something they would always like say like, well, you're a visionary creative founder, like you're going to get bored with this. And like you're gonna be done with this soon. And I like sat with the first time I heard it a couple times in 1 week. It was like the first time I heard it. I remember I was like, I sat with it, and I thought about it like, no, dude, it's not like, I'm not bored with this at all, because it's like, it's this ever morphing problem.
Yeah.
It's like every
Yeah.
time I'm like solving something, there's something new to figure out, so it's really like keeps me engaged and challenged and excited. I love like
Yeah.
what we do, like the products that we create, and the people we serve, the people we employ, everything's
Yeah.
great about it.
No, it's funny. I think I heard that. I can't remember what book it was. I read it in a book, I think, where it said like you can be successful in business when you stop worrying about the money and you just get obsessed with what you're selling and solving problems. That's all
Yeah.
business really is. It's just you're just a professional problem solver at the end of the
Yeah.
day. And then luckily, if your problem is solved, it turns into more money, right? Like
Yeah.
that's kind of what
Yeah.
you're doing all day, every
Yeah.
day.
Right. Ideally, I will say, I said to my wife, I talked to one of my, what would I call them? I guess frenemies, former frenemies. Like
Okay. Yeah.
there's a couple of competitors where I'm friendly with the owners or
Oh,
founders.
interesting. Yeah.
And one of them, and we'll just like, we don't talk regularly, we help each other. It's like it's interest. They're
Well,
interesting
because
relationships
maybe
because
because
like,
you're both in the same world. So like,
yeah, so
like you
like
both health better for
we'll
you.
yeah, if we're facing an issue with like city or health department, like some sort of something with that, like we're all on the
Ah,
same team. If it's it could be like a distributor issue or an ingredient that we're having a problem with, or bottles or something like that. Like we'll help each other out with like
oh, that's
sourcing,
cool.
or like
Yeah.
piggyback each other's orders, so we don't have to order like a whole thing from this guy. I just need a case of ginger, dude. So
Yeah.
um but we check in with each other, not regularly, but like maybe every like 6 months or something on average. And I called one of them um just maybe a month ago, just to see what was up. And because I had heard that one of the other guys was opening up a shop near this guy's. And
Ah,
so I called him to see what was up. And he's like, well, you obviously haven't heard, we sold. And I'm like, no, I didn't hear that. He's like, yeah, man, like we sold, we got a pretty good multiple. Like we're feeling pretty fortunate,
wow.
like, and super relieved, because this guy like had several businesses, and he would always say, he's like, dude, this company, like it makes the least money, and it's like by leaps and bounds the hardest,
Got
and
it. Oh, so he just wanted to get out anyway.
yeah, and we like the conversations with these guys, they always go like into like this, like, I don't want to say pity party, but we do kind of like laugh about like how, how much shit we've got to deal with and figure out and solve, and and he was talking, he's like, yeah, it's like I find like I don't even know what to do with myself. It's like I'm so programmed to be like checking sales on my phone all day long. I'm like, dude, there's no one more obsessed than me. And I was telling my wife, I was telling her about this. I'm like, yeah, we started talking about like that, like habitually checking sales like 100 times a day for every day for 7 years. Like that's fucking traumatizing,
Yeah.
dude. Like
Yeah.
I'm fucking damaged from
Oh,
that,
so you can
like,
like see it on your phone.
yeah,
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 yeah.
man. Like, I mean, it's like, it's definitely like a gift and a curse that we've got like a live scorecard every single day, every moment of every day.
Oh, yeah, that's tough. You probably can't turn that off. Like you can't just
No,
like mentally not look, right?
no, it's hard, like I mean, when it's good, it's like a high you get from it. Like it's
Sure.
probably some, you know, like Instagram is or something. Like
Yeah.
you're getting like a high from it every time you check it. And then when it's not, then you're worried and you're thinking like, what can we do? What's wrong? Like what can we do different? Oh, hey, is there anyone that we could cut? Like, do you send someone home early? Is anyone like, are we standing around? Like, is there stuff to do? So yeah, it is like
So
that.
it turns into fire drills sometimes, maybe too.
Kind of, yeah. But yeah, it's like, and when I think about over a 7-year span of like how much time it was like that high from
Yeah.
looking at the sales, it's definitely nothing close to as much as it's been like the I don't know about lows, but just like more like the worry or paranoid kind of like
Sure.
mindset, you know?
Yeah.
So,
No,
yeah.
that makes total sense.
Yeah. So we're definitely traumatized from
Maybe
our,
just the nature of being an entrepreneur, I'm sure.
yeah, man.
Um, I wanted to also fit in, so I know we're getting towards the end here, and we've gone over my time I told you we would go to. So sorry for that, but this has
No
been a
problem,
great
man.
conversation, man. The one I don't think I was asking these questions, but I've started to with all of the founders I've had on here. That I love asking because I think everyone that's a founder has interesting responses to this. And the first one is, so obviously, as you've talked about this whole time, you're doing a ton of different stuff all the time. There's a million different moving pieces. You're also a dad, a husband. So what do you, Nick Boskovich, use to, map out your goals, to look at like daily tasks? Like what tools do you use to get shit done? Whether that's pen and paper, apps. Yeah. What is the daily task tracking, look like for you?
All right, I gotta say that this is probably the most challenging aspect for me because it's the way I'm wired, my type, I guess. I'm not organized.
Okay.
And so, but I want it. You know what I mean? I want the organizing. It's just like I have this like block that makes it hard for me to be the one doing it. So I don't know if I mentioned in our last interview, but a few years ago when we were planning to build that Ashland location, and we had a few other things that we actually like ended up not pursuing. One of them was a kill shot. We were going to do like a national distribution of that, like
Oh,
wholesale
wow.
kill shots.
Yeah.
But I convinced her, because this is always an issue for me, and like for whatever reason, like physical lists, like with a pen and paper, work way better for me than like a digital, like on a note or a reminder or something on my phone. It's just, I don't know, that doesn't really work for me. But when I have like, I guess because I'm so like big picture minded or
Yeah.
focused, I actually had to beg my wife to give me the green light on this for a few years, but she finally agreed to allow me to put a giant glass whiteboard in our dining room.
Oh, cool.
It was like I think it was 6x4.
Oh,
And
wow. That's huge.
game changer though, dude. Like I had it all up there and it was like staring me right in the fucking face every day, you know?
You could just see
Yeah,
everything and
like that to
anything.
me, that was like the best. That was the best move. When we had those tenants move in, they were like, "What is this?" I'm like, "Oh, that was a whiteboard. I can put it back up there if you want." They're like, "No, we don't want that."
No, we're good.
Yeah.
So what did you do when you left that location? Did you bring a whiteboard or something with you?
Yeah. So that one is well, no, I'm struggling right now. So
That's insane.
I'm trying to lean on my wife, um, because she is very like much more like systematic and like operations minded, I would say.
Okay. Yeah.
She's much more organized. So I try to like, she doesn't appreciate it, but I do try to like put the burden on her a little bit. Like I need help, you know, like, look I got fucking papers coming out of my ears. Like, it's like this
Yeah.
like underlying stressor that like, anytime I need to find anything, I have to look through everything, you know, like, cause I'm like, if I was like a single dude, I would probably just have like piles of things on every flat surface in my house. And like, I would know where it all is, you know, but like,
But
no one can
to
live like
anyone
that.
else
Yeah.
be like, what is
No,
this?
yeah, and she'll like, and she's not like that. So like, I'll have things like laid out. Like right now, I got 3 files right here,
Yeah.
4 files, checkbook. I got like notepads, planner. I got things everywhere. And she'll come in when she's like organized, and she'll just like put it all in a pile and like put it away. And I'm like, hey, where's the file for the Michigan property? She's like, I don't know. I'm like, she's like, I don't know. I put everything away. I'm like, oh my God, now I have to dig through everything. She's like, well, what's the difference between digging and just searching? I'm like, well, I knew right where it was before. So yeah. So
that's funny.
yeah, I'm not great at I guess I'm not one to ask for advice on organization or task
No, you know what's
management.
funny though, and I've said this recently. So that is you're my 55th founder I've had on here. That is the most common by far answer. Like
Yeah.
by far, people that are building their own thing is like their organization style is to not be organized.
Yeah.
And pen and paper.
I mean, dude, and honestly, like, here's the best tip, the best advice I give to anybody that's like that resonates with the way I operate. Be self-aware, accept it, and surround yourself with people that are very organized. That's the solution.
Yeah.
That's for sure. Yeah,
Build a team. No, that's great. That's great
that's right.
advice. To build on that, the next one is I always say source of knowledge, but it could be a book, a podcast, anything for folks listening that that's been like impactful for you that you would recommend to people.
You know what? There's a couple of books that I have. I'm I'm not like a big reader, but I am. But I do listen. I do like audiobooks. I do podcasts a little bit. Podcasts. I like. I'm very selective now with those. But there's a couple of books that I keep going back to.
Okay.
Um, One of them is "The Obstacle Is the Way."
Love that one. I
If you're
actually,
if
sorry, I
you're in
haven't
a
read that one.
if you're in a stressful period where it feels like the world's against you, you've got some huge obstacles to conquer, like that book is, it really like helps you quiet the noise and embrace the suck of whatever you're going through, right?
Love that.
Um, so that one I've probably listened to that book now, like I don't even know if like I would say at least 3 or 4 times.
So the
Um,
audio is really good.
hmm Yeah, the audiobook is good for that one.
Okay. I've listened to the Ego is the Enemy and then Stillness is the
Mhm.
Key. So that's the next one I need to read.
Yeah, it's The Obstacles Away. And then Bo Eason is the author of a book called There's No Plan B for Your A Game.
Oh,
Another one that I don't know why that one doesn't get more attention or accolades, because it's fire. Like to me,
okay.
like that
I'm writing
one,
this down.
that one will turn you into the best version of you for sure.
Oh, love it.
Yeah,
Okay.
it really is. Like, I mean, that dude's a beast. He was like an extreme underdog that was like ended up being like an NFL star, and like he's got a great story, but his mindset is something to study, I'd say. He's got
Love it. Okay.
great tips in that one. So I like that one. And then another one that really like put me into like this I don't know, this like beast like mindset was what the hell's the David Goggins book?
You Can't Hurt Me.
Can't Hurt Me.
That one's
That's a great one too.
Yeah.
And that one, the audio book is you have to do the audio, because him and the author do like these like summary or reviews after each chapter.
Yes.
So you're
Yeah.
getting like their insight, or like his like, his insight or hers, him like kind of like elaborating on what he was talking about.
Yeah.
So that's a really good one too.
That one for me, I listened to that one this year. That one for me was one of those books where it made me realize how many people never try to like go further or work
Mhm.
harder or accomplish something. Like everyone stops early.
Yeah.
And hearing his story is like, it made me feel like just the thing that stood out was like, oh, you're just being a bitch. Like you just need to try a little harder.
Yeah,
You
man.
know what I mean?
Yeah,
Go
for real.
Go further. One more day. One more
Dude, that
minute
thing,
on
that
this.
listening to that book, I was like, I remember I listened to it while we were like in Florida for a few weeks. It was when we first had Sil, and that shit turned me into a machine, dude. I
Yeah.
was like running like further and further every single day while I'd be listening to it.
Yes.
Great.
Yeah. I
great
listen.
read.
I do these like daily lunges, and I've been doing it for almost 2 years now. And that book, I remember listening to it. I'm like, oh yeah, I need to go further. I need to go faster. I need to go. It just makes you feel like question like what's possible, I guess. Which that's a great one. So thank you for those. I'll write all those down.
Yeah.
The last question and the most important is how can people follow you, and how can people get involved and try HiVibe?
Okay, following me, my Instagram is the best way. The Bosco
Great follow,
Show.
by the way. I'm just gonna plug you on that.
Thanks, dude. Yeah, I mean, and my Instagram, I sometimes I go hard, and and what I'd like to what I think it's lost in in the social media world is that it's when I'm sharing like a story or even a post with a caption, it's it kind of comes across as harsher than it would if it was like me speaking.
Sure.
If it was like a video or even audio message. But I mean, I do all that out of like I feel a sense of duty, to share like my perspective and to share like not my perspective, different perspective than people are seeing and hearing and reading in the mainstream. So,
Sure.
and it's called the Bosco Show, not because I love myself, but because although I do was planning to do a YouTube channel. And you can also give me a follow there, because I am about to get back on that. But that endeavor hit some roadblocks along the way.
Okay.
So both like professionally and personally. And we're too late in this for me to get into it, but I'm gonna get back on that and share what I've been obsessing and hacking
Yeah,
for
I
the
will.
last 6 months, which is EMFs.
Okay.
EMFs have been, for whatever reason, my family and I have become extremely sensitive to EMFs, and I'm like a walking EMF meter at this point.
Interesting.
And
For everyone listening, what's an EMF?
electromagnetic frequency.
Yes, that's what I thought.
So,
Okay.
I know everyone's probably seen the 5G towers that are everywhere, and it's actually easy to blame those things, to think like those are like this. We're kind of like, I don't know. That's like the mainstream narrative is like, oh, the 5G, the 5G, the 5G. It's not really those towers. There's a lot of different sources of dangerous frequencies in our lives these days. And I didn't have to, but I had a EMF consultant out to
Oh, wow.
inspect my
Did you really?
mom's house, and she came with like 13 different meters to measure all different things. And then I was shadowing her the whole time. So I like learned a lot about it. And then I like applied it to like, because I'm like feeling issues like almost everywhere I go. Like I feel like, oh, there's something here. And I found there were some issues at my in-laws' house, dirty electricity to be specific, and that one's like pretty easy to figure out, but it can be really harmful. So
Interesting.
I don't know. Like I said, that's like a whole rabbit hole that like to me
yeah.
deserves a lot of attention, and it's
Sure.
not getting any airplay, I think, by design. And then follow HiVibe, man. Follow HiVibe, support HiVibe, support us, support your health, all in one shot there. So that Instagram account is HiVibe Shy. That's HiVibeChi on Instagram. Our website's hi-vibe.com. We deliver to a 60-mile radius of the city. People are, the average weight loss from our cleanse is 5 to 10 pounds. We've got several people losing like upwards of like 12, 13 pounds in 3 to 4 days. So it's a great way to really kick off, to really like turn a new leaf, new season, get yourself a nice reset. And and it's like, I guess the most underrated benefit of our cleanses is this discipline that you exercise that we forget that we have. I'm sure. And that really serves you in everyday life far beyond those few days that you're cleansing.
Yeah, no, I love that. I will, I'll add the links to all this stuff to the show notes. Anyone listening, check it all out. We'll have it all there. Nick, thank you so much for coming back on, my friend. I feel like we could do another one with all this other stuff for sure.
Yeah, man. Well, we'll get around to it.
Sounds good.
I appreciate you, Shane. Thanks for having me on, man.
Absolutely, man. And good luck with everything